So at Connected Development, using our advocacy channel, Follow the Money, there are other sub projects and sub programs which we have there. For example, we have the Project Trust, which is running across different states of Nigeria, Anambra State, Bayelsa State, Jigawa State, Borno State, Oshun, Yobe, Kwara. These are just some of the states where Project Trust is running. Uh, we are tracking government projects here. We have projects from the senatorial, it's projects that have been contracted via the senatorial constituencies or the how for or projects that have been contracted from the House of Reps, federal constituencies in these different states. And most of them are not even being carried out. Most of them are not being actualized. But monies have been spent, have been disbursed, contractors have been paid, but no work on ground.
On today's segment of Unpopular Opinion, we are going to be discussing issues of community empowerment, transparency, advocacy, and citizens movement. We are going to be delving into the impactful work that Connected Development is doing across Africa, especially the initiative of Follow the Money. Also, understand all of this, we have Mr. Hamani Butu with us, who is representing Mr. Hamza Lawal in today's segment. Mr. Harmony Budu, thank you very much for being here. And it's a pleasure to have you on the segment today.
Thank you so much, Mohammed Sherry, for inviting me. It is such a pleasure to be here and to present my principal at Connected Development, Hamza Lawal. I'm the media officer at Connected Development and our advocacy channel, which is Follow the Money. And it's a great work you're doing with the Unpopular Opinion podcast. Thank you for having me.
Before going in depth of our discussion, I'd like to ask you, who is Mr. Harmony Budu? And the audience would like to know you and maybe a brief background about you. I think that would be interesting.
Thank you, Mohammed, for that question. Yeah, my name is Hamon Nguzo, although a lot of people know me as Makto. I am a corporate storyteller in the sense that I work with communications to tell the story of every firm where I find myself in. The past weeks, I have ventured into different sectors, from the creative economy to arts to hospitality, media, finance, and now in development. I believe that storytelling is the way to put a corporate brand out there and give a corporate brand the positive perception it deserves in the public sphere. I have been able to, over the years, work with reputable firms, and I have been able to travel globally through the work that I do as an individual and also travel as a corporate firm and as with different organizations I have worked with over time. Right now, being at Connected Development is such a blessing because Connected Development is concerned with telling the stories of marginalized communities, giving unheard communities a voice. You know, in Africa, most times we are lost with the wind of what's happening in Lagos, in Nairobi, in Johannesburg, or we do not know what is actually happening in the hinterlands of these great African countries. And that's where connected development comes in. We give undeserved, underdeveloped, and marginalized communities the voice that they deserve to be heard, especially by the authorities in place. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that brief background explanation. And I'd like to ask you, how does Connected Development identify projects that they have to undertake? And can you give us a background of Follow the Money procedure? How did that happen?
Thank you very much. At Connected Development, we have our advocacy engine, which is called Follow the Money. A lot of people have heard about money because of the work we do, and Follow the Money has been in existence for a couple of years now. Starting out in 2012, when our founder and CEO Hamza Lawal identified a community in northern Nigeria that had lead poisoning that led to the death of multiple children. Also, another community in northern Nigeria that had a water crisis, and a lot of children were poisoned. A lot of children did not have water to drink. And then he brought using social media, Twitter, Facebook, he brought the attention of the authorities to the point that the then president, Goodluck Jonathan, was even able to pay attention, give rapid presidential attention to those communities, and funds were disbursed in that regard. So this is how connected development works. We, at the beginning of every year, we study the budget allocation that has been sent out, that has been released to the public, and we understand that we work with marginalized communities to ensure that government funds are being spent appropriately as they have been budgeted for. And what we do is working with local agencies like the traditional rulers, the religious leaders, the youth groups, women groups. We are able to track government spending in those communities to understand whether what has been allocated for is actually being actualized in this community. We concern ourselves with four major sectors of connected development, which is the health sector, education sector, what we call wash, water, sanitation, and hygiene, and also girl child education is of paramount importance to us. These four sectors, these four standpoints that we hold very true to the work that we do. It's what guides us. It's what tells where we should go, what community we should concern ourselves with, and that's the mantra we have at Connected Development, ensuring that these communities they receive the very dividend of democracy, which is seeing government money spent judiciously for the right reasons and for the right cause, which is good for the people.
I want you all to please support this channel in whatever way you can, liking, commenting, sharing, as well as making recommendations to all about individuals that are doing remarkable works in their various countries. Okay, transparency is at the heart of connected development works. Whatever you do in your organization, is centered around transparency. So I want to understand, how do you ensure that information dissemination is not a problem in your organization, as well as what are some of the most critical challenges that you face in your work, especially if you want to hold government accountable for resource allocation to various communities as you've indicated in the national budget?
Okay, so it is quite easy. At Connected Development, we follow the money. There are 8 ways in which we are able to hold government accountable in simple setup, which we usually tell to our partners and to community folks when we are maybe on an outreach or an application. First of all, we have to identify the money we are tracking. For example, if we are in a community in Nigeria, we have to understand how much was allocated for maybe a water project or a public facility project. And first of all, we call it find the money to follow. You have to identify what project you are tracking, what money are we tracking at this point in time. And then we engage with the community to see how much the community is feeling the impact of this project being that's been allocated and that is being done. Then we now engage with the implementing agencies at this point. So we work with the budget office, or we work with the senatorial office, or the legislative office, the constituency office, and the local community to understand whether the money is spent judiciously, if it is being spent, or if it's not spent at all, reasons to why it is not being the time. And then we also engage with the contractors. For every money that's been allocated, there's a contractor that the government has provided or has contracted to deliver the project. We engage with the contractors to see why the project has not been implemented or to understand why the project has not kicked off as it should, if that is the case. And then at the point where we are faced with challenges or the project is not being implemented at all, we then write an FYI request to the implementing government agencies to follow through. This is the to understand why, if the project is not implemented, why is it not implemented? The project is facing challenges or it's been implemented to a point. With this freedom of information, it's called FOI, freedom of information request. It will help us and it will guide us to get full and verifiable answers, which the government agencies we'll only have answers to. Then we sometimes organize hall meetings, and that's where we have women groups, youth groups, community leaders, religious leaders to liaise with them and to bring them closer to understand that there is a project that's been allocated to this community. Although you cannot feel the impact right now, but this is the reason, and we are here to help and to ensure that we give you guys a voice so that the authorities are aware that something is going amiss in your community. Transparency is what guides what we do. For every single kobo the government has allocated, we ensure that that kobo is felt at the very point where it is supposed to be utilized. We follow every government spending, especially in the four sectors which I've mentioned earlier, and that's how we do to ensure that government is being held accountable. Government is not just making promises without keeping through to the promises, and that's how follow the money works.
Today's video is proudly sponsored by Magnite Clothing Brand. If you are living in Europe or in any part of the world and you need an African clothing, you can simply check them up on their Instagram page. The link is in the description of this video. Thank you. I want to also go to another part of the discussion that has to do with empowering citizen or citizen advocacy. How do you think citizen advocacy contributes to sustainable development, or is it contributing to sustainable development in Nigeria, considering a lot of discussion that you see on social media, not just social media, but on blog posts and news you read about rampant corruption? How do you think citizen advocacy would be able to address this particular issue of corruption in Nigeria?
So citizen advocacy is one thing that I personally drive for, especially in my little corner, where I make sure that I make it very known that if everybody speaks up, if one person speaks up, everybody will speak up, and then the government will be overwhelmed with all of our voices and take action. Citizen advocacy is the only way to drive change, and is the only way to ensure that government is aware that the citizens are well informed as to what government is doing. Right now, at Follow the Money and at Connected Development, we have a project called Project Trust. And Project Trust is being driven by everyday people, men and women of all ages, young boys, young girls of all ages, across different states of the Federation here in Nigeria. They are tracking government spendings. It's called Project Trust. We are trying to see how we can rebuild trust between the people and the government. But how do we do that? We make sure that we are using these people, everyday people, as a channel to see how we can we can measure government's efficiency and government's productivity in the people's daily lives. So people wants to see or people want to feel the government. They want to feel improvements in their daily lives and they want to see that government's monies are getting to them. Maybe through resources or maybe through capital projects that is going to affect their daily life. We are not going out there into the fields. We are not leaving our offices to go into the communities to make sure that this is happening. We are using everyday people to ensure that this project is going through, following through. And this is a form of citizen advocacy. Citizen advocacy is what is majorly what drove the 2022 presidential elections in Nigeria. A lot of the political parties relied on word of mouth. There was no major outside of the regular political rallies that went from different states of the federation. Citizen advocacy is what drove the campaigns. Citizen advocacy is what some candidates relied on majorly to tell their stories and to sell themselves market. And like I said earlier, where every citizen is well informed of what government is doing, where every citizen is well interested and invested in government spending, government policies, government actions, you realize that the government is now aware that you are not just leading a pack of sheep. You are leading a very well informed pack that understand that for every action you take, there is a consequence and where that consequence is being felt is at the ballot, is in the ballot, is in the next cycle of election. There's a possibility you will be voted out of office if you do not stand true to your promises. And that is because citizens are well informed. That's where CSOs come in. CSOs like what we do, we follow the money. We drive citizen advocacy. We educate citizens on their rights. We educate citizens on their need to understand what government is doing for them. That's why the FY is very important to us at Welcome Cards. Follow the money, and yeah, we are very proud of the work we are doing. We are very proud of what is happening right now. We are very proud that a lot of people are getting the hang of it. A lot of people are understanding that citizen advocacy is one of the major channels to get government to sit up and to get government to drive home accountability on the part of government.
I want you all to please support this channel in whatever way you can, liking, commenting, sharing, as well as making recommendations to all about individuals that are doing remarkable works in their various countries. Talking about follow the money and accountability at Connected Development, can you tell us what are some of the success story of follow the money and some of the challenges that you experience in tracking all of these, following all of these steps along the line in order for citizens to be aware of what is happening, and how do you overcome all of those challenges?
First of all, your first question, some of our successes. I will just give you one recent success. A lot of what we are doing is very much documented on ifollowthemoney.org. But our major or our most recent success story is our recent launch in Sierra Leone. So let me be the first to break it to you, although you may have heard, Follow the Money has launched in our 12th African country, which is Sierra Leone, a West African country not too far away from Nigeria and Ghana. We launched in November 2024, and we are proud to announce that we did not just launch, we have already started tracking projects in that country. And that on its own is a major feat for an African advocacy channel like Follow the Money to have launched in in 12 countries so far. It just means that we are on the right path and we are doing something that is being felt. And I promise you, by this time next year, we should be counting down to our 30th African country. Follow the Money is spreading its tentacles across Africa, holding government accountable and ensuring that government spendings are going on judiciously. And then for your second question, some of the challenges we face, of course, there is a lot of bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is our biggest challenge we face because sometimes you may want to be reaching out to some government agency or some MDA or some ministry or parastatal, but we are faced with bureaucracy. Your letters go unresponded to, your calls go unanswered, your meeting schedules are not met. And that is because we all know how government works here in Africa. And when you try to hold government accountable and you are being faced with a roadblock, there's little or nothing you can do. But for us at Follow the Money, we try to build relationships. So we build relationships with government to understand, to let the government know that we are not fighting the government. We are not here to antagonize the government. We are just here for the people. We are here to give the people a voice and to ensure that we help the government follow through with their spending. Because truth be told, sometimes the government is not even aware that a contractor is not on ground to follow through the project. That, but that's where Follow the Money comes in. We are not antagonizing the government, we're not fighting the government. Although bureaucracy will always come in, but we always have a way around it because over the years we have tried to build relationships with government. In every country where we are present, we try to build relationship with government so that the government understands the part we play and the government gives us the right support we need to do the work we do, which is to working for the people and to ensure that the people feel government presence in their everyday life.
I want to say congratulations to Follow the Money or Connected Development for the groundbreaking expansion they are doing. And I hope you guys will be able to launch in Liberia very soon. And it will be a privilege to see your organization present in Liberia. You know, talking about working with government and interacting with government, one of the challenges that I've understood is that uh, I believe Connected Development is a team of young people, and young people in Africa is considered by some of the leadership in most African countries as an oppose when it comes to development, because their way of understanding development and our way of understanding development today is different. And at the end of the day, when young person is sitting on the table, because most of the work you do, it has to do with sitting on the table and discussing issues. So many times young people are seen as a child, or a young man is being seen as a child. You get to hear a response like, he's too young, or you are like my son, or you are almost the same age of my nephew. These are all challenges that affect young people when it comes to sitting to discuss issues that are really affecting our various countries across Africa. So I'd like to understand, how do you engage or handle such situation, and how do you educate the people as well to take ownership of the various projects that you are undertaking?
Thank you very much. Just to note, our founder and CEO at Connected Development Hamza Lawa is he falls under the age bracket of young people. And that is just to let you know that at Connected Development, we majorly concern ourselves with this vibrant age demographic. That's between people between the ages of 18 to 35. And we work majorly with this age, with this demographic, because this is where you get a lot of vibrancy and you get a lot of actionable people that will hold the government accountable to like especially regarding what we do at Connected Development. How we get young people is involved is through liaising with them and consulting with them before we go into any project or program that has to do with, for example, working in a community or tracking government and accountability in a community. We always do some sort of consultation. So outside of meeting with the traditional rulers or the religion rulers, we also meet with youth groups. We also meet with the women group. And in these two factions, you can see that there are young people there, and these people are able to see that this is the work we do. We have a lot of volunteers on the field, and our volunteers are also young people because they understand that they are the ones that have the physical agility to drive home the points to government or to speak to the people in the communities. Young people also constitute a major workforce for us at the HQ at Connected Development. Um, I think it goes without saying to say that a lot of the work we do is centered around this demographic, and it is there's no science to it. There is no technicality to it. It is just how it's a part of our policy, and it's a part of our lifestyle. This is not to say that we are limited to this demographic, but it's just a part of what we do, and it goes without saying.
Today's video is proudly sponsored by Magnite Clothing Brand. If you are living in Europe or in any part of the world and you need an African clothing, you can simply check them up on their Instagram page. The link is in the description of this video. Youth engagement. I always tell people, when it comes to discussing Africa and the development across Africa, young people, they are the center of everything in Africa, especially looking at their significant demographic and constituting about 60% of the population across the African continent. Research have also shown that between now to 2030, the population will increase by at least 300 million people between the age of 15 to 35, defined by the African Union as youth. And from now to 2040 or 2050, we are also going to be having about 460 million people that are going to be between the same age, 15 to 24. So I believe that their engagement in political processes in development is essential. They are the ones determining the politics, development, and economic process of the various countries across Africa. So it is important that young people engage very well. And I must commend your organization for the impactful work that you are doing, ensuring that young people engage, not just engage in a violence way, but in a democratic way where they are able to hold their various governments accountable. So coming from there, I want us to talk about technology. what role technology plays in your advocacy on day-to-day basis.
Thank you so much for that question. So earlier on, I had also I think I had left out something about the way we engage the youthful population. I was also going to point out about capacity building. It is one thing that is also very paramount to us. We organize workshops, we organize seminars, we organize trainings, and we hold a lot of sessions that build the capacity of the youthful population, especially in the places where connected development is being present. So going further, your question about the role of technology in the work we do. Technology is very important. As you can tell, at Connected Development, we do a lot with data and we do a lot with research, and it is central to the mission of promoting accountability and promoting transparency in government. Data and research is a lot of how we are able to come up with the information is how we are also able to come up with our findings to know where we should go and where we should beam our spotlight. And we used a lot of digital tools to understand and to analyze this data that we get. Sometimes we get raw data, and it is with these digital tools we're able to use to analyze. And we also do a lot of research work to tell us where we should, to tell us what and how we could go about maybe tracking a project or doing advocacy work in a community. We also do a lot of digital campaign and awareness. As you can tell, these days, the government is only concerned when there is a big call out in social media. And we do a lot of digital campaigns, we do a lot of awareness, and mobilize stakeholders and citizens to join us in most of these campaigns. And seeing that we are scattered all across Africa, for example, in Nigeria, we're scattered across the 36 states of the Federation. We are not going to convene everybody physically. So that's we do a lot of real time social media campaigning and digital marketing to get people involved in what we do. We also do a lot of real time monitoring. We have um, different channels we use to do this. We do not just have follow the money as a subsidiary of connected development. Connected development has a lot of subsidiaries that help do the overall work, which is giving marginalized communities a voice. And real-time monitoring with different applications and implementation tools, we're able to monitor in real time what is happening in different communities, and sometimes even with our user base platform, which was a very focal part of the 2022 general elections in Nigeria. We're also able to get people involved, stakeholders, youth group, other CSOs. We work with different CSOs across Nigeria and Africa to do a lot of what we do and to ensure success in the work we do. We also do a lot of networking, and networking, like I mentioned, working with other agencies, working with other international agencies, but also across Europe and the Americas to ensure that, I mean, these are agencies that have been around for 100 years. They understand the work of civil society and advocacy, and they sometimes, in collaboration with us, have given us a window into the vast technological advancement, and then we tap into all of that and bring it back here to Africa, to Nigeria, and to ensure that we are able to replicate those successes we have seen out there here in Africa.
Thank you very much for talking about capacity building, because that was another thing that I wanted to talk about. Because recently I conducted a research, I was writing a paper, and I found out that many young people that participated in my survey, they complain about two things. That is capacity building, and the capacity building was in two forms. Young men in West Africa and across other regions in Africa, they talked about capacity building, and the female were also talking about funding for programs to support women initiatives. And I believe all of this cuts down to capacity building. And when young people capacity is not being built, they will not be able to become an active citizen in their various countries. So I want to understand, how does connected development ensure that underserved communities are able to get resources that's been allocated to them through your advocacy organization?
Thank you. So at Connected Development, using our advocacy channel Follow the Money, there are other sub projects and sub programs which we have there. For example, right now we have the Project Trust, which is running across different states of Nigeria, Anambra State, Bayelsa State, Jigawa State, Borno State, Oshun, Yobe, Kwara. These are just some of the states where Project Trust is running. We are tracking government projects here. We have projects from the these projects that have been contracted via the senatorial constituencies, or the how for or projects that have been contracted from the House of Reps, federal constituencies in these different states. And most of them are not even being carried out. Most of them are not being actualized. But monies have been spent, have been disbursed, contractors have been paid, but no work on ground. We use Follow the Money to ensure that these monies that are being contracted out, that are being disbursed, are actually being spent. How we do it, like I mentioned earlier, we have 8 different steps to which you go. You find the money you want to follow, you check the spending, you liaise with MDAs, you meet with local authority, you write an FYI request where you are not getting as much information as you need to help you understand how you are tracking this money. So these different steps will it will guides us to understand what we're actually doing, to understand whether the money is being judiciously spent. And Follow the Money has we have gathered a lot of clout and repute right now, that our relationship with government is very cordial, and it's seen that we've been around for quite a while. I mean, at some point, it got the attention of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the then Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. There's just not there is just no glass ceiling we have not shattered as of now. Um, that has helped us. That in a case where we are faced with a new challenge, all we just need to do is to reach out to the government, and the government is always ready to listen to us. Our successes are more than our challenges, and we are not backing down anytime soon. We are following through with it to ensure that government is doing the work they're elected to do.
Okay, talking about your expansion across various regions across Africa. So I'd like to understand, what lessons have you learned? How those lessons have been able to shape your advocacy mindset or strategy and transparency.
Thank you. Right now, connected development Follow the Money is present in Nigeria, Kenya, Cameroon, South Sudan, Malawi, Zimbabwe, Cape Verde, Liberia, actually, Gambia, Ethiopia, and our most recent country, Sierra Leone. Um, what we do is with our local, what we call them is FTM champions. So these are the people that are on ground. These are the people that are in the field that a lot of the work, that do a lot of the work which we do. And like I said earlier, we're not going to leave our offices to go into the field to see where government is spending or not spending money. We work with local FTN champions, Follow the Money champions. These people work with us hand in hand to ensure that government is doing the actual stuff, which is where money has been disbursed, money should be spent. And Advocacy has doing all of this for the past couple of years now, has birthed some sort of advocacy champion inside of me right now. I understand that accountability is a major part of human interaction and human existence. Where you said you are going to do something, you have to stick to it, especially where you are doing it for somebody who's paid you. Because citizens pay tax, and it's with taxpayers' money that projects are being implemented. So we need to ensure that the people are not impoverished for nothing. People are not paying taxes and not seeing dividends of their money being spent in them. Government is a repetitive cycle. I mean, with the elections and with democracy that is being very much enshrined in every African country. Um, we need to be we need to be very accountable to people. We need to understand that we have a voice, whether no matter how loud, no matter how tiny or how loud our voices are, we need to speak up. Advocacy is a big part of ensuring that Africa becomes the continent we want it to be. And we can only get that when we speak up. We cannot get that if we're silent. Unfortunately for us, we have some governments that are not ready to do the work until they are being called out or until they are being held accountable. And that's where individual advocacy comes in. We have to do the work. Uh, Follow the money is just a channel, it's just an advocacy tool. And there's just so much we can do. But as individuals in our little corner, we should tap into this channel, we should tap into this engine, and then join us to see how we can make Africa the Africa of our dreams. I promise you, our expansion plans will see us present in 54 African countries in no distant time.
Okay, thank you very much. We are almost coming to an end of the show, and I think I have two more questions. Talking about, I would have loved to bring in about the African Union or the ECOWAS. Maybe we'll have another show to have specific discussion about that, because one of the things that I observe about various countries across Africa is monitoring and evaluation, because they are very good at putting policy together. They are very good at signing onto papers when it comes to policy declaration. But when it comes to implementation and monitoring and evaluation, that is very lacking. At the end of the day, things has been said, but nothing is done. Before I take a leave of you now, what are some of the advices that you could give to other young people that wanting to create such platform like you are doing? And also, what are some of the things that we should have discussed that probably I did not ask and you would like to bring them on? You can also talk about them, and I will take a leave of you after that. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, and it makes sense that this is passion. It makes sense that this is what you want to do. And there should also be patience. Where you want to hold government accountable for something, you should understand that you are going to meet a lot of roadblocks. You need to have the passion for it, you need to have the patience, and then you need to have the skill set. When you do not have the skill set, do not be afraid to outsource, do not be afraid to sell your dream, do not be afraid to get people on board, because when you get people on board, you're able to sell the passion to them, you're able to sell this dream to them. And I promise you, you get someone that is going to be interested in what you're doing. And as a young person, speaking up should be part of it should be ingrained in our DNA, because there's a whole lot of wrong that is happening in the world where we live in today. There's a lot that should be better. And we have age on our side, we have passion on our side, we have a lot of channels to amplify our voices. We have the social media. Some couple of years back, things were not as good as it is right now. But things are only better now because somebody spoke up. Things are only better now because a group of people started speaking up and the government started taking up. And I think we have the chance to do the funniest thing ever, and that's to pick up to ensure that the future we are creating for ourselves and for the generations on board unborn is one that is very admirable and one without hitches. The world should be a better place, and it can only be a better place when people start speaking up and start holding authorities accountable. And it should be one major thing I would reiterate is do not be afraid to outsource and to network with other people and to sell your dreams to other people. Because I promise you, you cannot do it alone. You cannot do it alone. And never be afraid to start small. Thank you so much, Mohammed, for having me. It's been a pleasure speaking to you for the past hour. Um, I promise you, what the work we do at Follow the Money, at Connected Development, has not even, I did not even scratch the surface. Like our Secretary General at Follow the Money, Mukta Modibo always say, the work is never done. We are never done with the work. We have to be continuously following through to ensure accountability in government and to ensure that we give these marginalized communities a voice. Um, Connected Development is very proud to have founded the Follow the Money Advocacy channel. And if you want to know more about what we do at Follow the Money, you just go to ifollowthemoney.org. And then to understand a lot of the work we do at Connected Development, just go to connecteddevelopment.org. And you see what work we do. You see our different channels to work with us, to engage with us, and to layers with us. If you're a CSO watching this, if you're a government agency, a stakeholder in government, um, anyone from any of the multinational agencies, then again, like I said, you can reach out to us at ifollowthemoney.org or connecteddevelopment.org and you see a lot of the work we do and our success stories. My name is Harmony Ngudu. Folks call me Mactor, and I'm very pleased to have presented my principal Hamza Bilawal here on on the Unpopular Opinion podcast. Thank you so much. I see what you are doing, and I promise you, in no distant time, this is also an advocacy channel, mind you. I'm Mohammed. In no distant time, it will be bigger, better. I mean, you'd even be flying me in for a live studio session. So thank you for the work you're doing. I see you, and I'm sure a lot of people see you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harmony, and it's been a very great pleasure to have you. I don't want to hold you long again. You have a lot of things to do. So I want to say thank you, and I want to say thanks to Mr. Hamza Lawal for this privilege. And we take it very serious and personal because everything that has to do with youth development, youth involvement is something that is very passionate to me. But before I take a leave of you, I want to encourage everybody to please support this channel by liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, making recommendations to us about individuals that are making remarkable works in their various countries. We will try our best to bring them to this platform to discuss the critical roles that they are playing in youth development. So thank you very much, Mr. Harmony. And until we meet again, Salam alaikum.